Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some summer reading recommendations. So I have 10-ish books to talk about that I think are perfect for summer for a variety of different reasons. Some of these take place in summer, some of them have like that kind of beach read vibe where they're just really fun and funny. A lot of these are really plot-based and quick to get through. So let's just start at the top, work our way down. So the first one, I'm gonna get this out of the way right away because I've watched a couple of these recommendations videos and pretty much everyone mentions these, so I don't think that anyone needs them, but they're perfect for summer, so I had to talk about them. And that is pretty much everything Emily Henry has ever written, just from the spines alone. I feel like this gives beach vibes right away. All of her books take place in summer. I'm just gonna hold up one of them because they're kind of heavy, but all of these books do take place in summer. Some of them take place at the beach, some of them take place over a summer vacation, so they all have a very summer feel. They're also very funny and witty. They are all very fast reads. These don't have like overly flowery writing or anything. They are very contemporarily written. And so this is definitely the type of book that you can take to the beach and just kind of fly through. So I had to recommend this, even though I don't think anyone at this point needs a recommendation for Emily Henry. But I'm always being reminded by my friends that not everybody is in the book community and my videos might reach new readers. So I wanted to recommend Emily Henry in case you're new here and you haven't checked out her books. They are the perfect summer beach read. The next one that I want to talk about is the Say Yes duet by Tasha L. Harrison. The first book is If She Says Yes, and this takes place during a southern summer. So we are following our hero, who is the best man at his best friend's wedding, and they go down to, I think it's North Carolina if I'm remembering, I think it's Charlotte. And so they go down to his best friend's mom's home, and that is where he is going to have his wedding, and our hero is falling in love with his best friend's mom. This entire first book takes place over that wedding weekend, so it is very southern summer, and they spend a lot of time outside at the pool and hanging out outside on the balcony, and it has all of those summer feels, including the wedding, which I feel like is a very summer thing. Maybe less so now, but traditionally it's a very summer thing. And then the sequel actually takes place on a tropical island when they go on a vacation together. The second book has a lot of their like vacation activities, so they do hiking and going to a waterfall and all of those things. And so I felt like this is one of those perfect summer reads. And again, they're really fast reads, so definitely one that you could take to the beach. These are very, very steamy. Our hero is submissive, and they do explore that in their romance. So definitely a steamier one than the Emily Henry ones, but also a very good beach read. A slightly different vibe is The Jock by Tell Bauer. This is a little bit more of an emotional romance. The first like quarter or so of this book is these two enjoying their summer in Paris. The second half of the book does kind of go through fall, but that first chunk of the book is very much so summer in Paris. It is them exploring the city and having meals together and sitting at the Eiffel Tower and enjoying their summer together, and it is so adorable. And I've never really had like a big draw to Paris, but while I was reading this, I definitely wanted to go and hang out there as well. Like I said, the second half of this book does kind of get into fall, and it is a little bit more on the emotional side because these two are trying to figure out how to make their relationship work once they return back to Texas. One of our heroes is a star football player and he is closeted. The two of them are trying to figure out how to make it work with one of them closeted but in the spotlight. And it is, like I said, a very emotional read. And there is a sequel that takes place right afterwards. So if you like this one, you have more Tell Bauer to read afterwards. The next recommendation is Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. This does have like a jungle scene right at the beginning, but I am recommending this one purely for the fun fantasy vibes. I feel like in summer we all kind of want that like action type of story, and this is definitely that. This doesn't have the most deep characters or intense themes, but this is such a fun, fast-paced fantasy. And so if you are looking for that book that you can just kind of like sit outside with, absolutely fly through, This is definitely that. We are following a heroine who is a witch, but every time she uses her powers, she loses memories, and she has no idea what memories she loses or how many she is going to lose, but she desperately wants to be part of this witch coven. It's kind of like a university type of thing, but the only way they will let her in is if she can find her familiar and do this like excursion. I don't remember exactly what they call it, but essentially you need to do this like big trip, and while she is doing that, the plane crashes. She finds herself in the jungle. She ends up rescuing this guy out of a tomb, and he thinks that she is his wife who entombed him in the first place. And the story kind of goes back to that coven, to that university, and what happens after the fact. People are showing up dead at the university. She thinks that it is the guy that she awoke. He is trying to convince her that she is his wife. There's all of this drama, all of these layers. The plot in here is just so much fun, and there are so many different threads that are happening that you can't ever put this book down. You just want to read it from cover to cover. It's a really good time. Like I said, maybe not the most original story ever, but one that you can't help but enjoy. The next recommendation is, again, very different. We have Red Dirt Heart, the entire series by N.R. Walker. I've read the first 3, I think. These take place in Australia, and they actually take place at this ranch in the Australian outback. And this entire series makes you feel like you were standing on the surface of the sun. And in the first book, our hero is kind of this like secluded guy owning the ranch. He had gone to university and enjoyed that time, but when his father passed away, he moves back to the ranch, and while he is gay, he doesn't feel like that is something that he can have now that he owns this ranch. And then a guy from Texas ends up coming to work for the ranch because he is studying agriculture, and he is doing some sort of study on farming in kind of uninhabitable, unfarmable, traditionally unfarmable areas. And the two of them end up having this really epic romance, and it is really, really sweet. These books are really short. They are very fast paced. It is just these two guys working this ranch, trying to figure out how to make this relationship work. They're really sweet. They're really steamy. And our Walker always writes really fantastic characters. And this is one that will definitely fit the whole summer vibe, especially if you are down in the South where it is hot and dry. That's definitely the vibe here. Another one that I'm recommending just for the fun adventure vibes is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. And I'm actually recommending this entire series as a whole. This is just the one that I grabbed off my shelf. This series is first very short. The books are really, really quick reads, but this is such a fun adventure fantasy. We're following this heroine who right at the beginning of the book ends up saving this demon kind of accidentally. And our heroine just kind of wants like a normal average life. And when she rescues this demon, he ends up thrusting her into this adventure in order to take out the woman that they thought was a goddess and protecting them from demons. Turns out that she is actually the evil one. This series is so freaking funny. The one-liners and the humor in this book are so fantastic. This series as a whole doesn't take itself too seriously. It really just kind of leans into that fun fantasy adventure, and I had such a good time with it. Our hero is a demon, he's also a dragon, and it is their romance. Again, super steamy, super fun, super lighthearted, and definitely the type of book that you can take with you to the beach or wherever you're going. Along those same lines, we have Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall. This is one of the funniest historical romances I've ever read. Everything that Alexis Hall writes kind of has this really amazing humorous undertone. This one has it in full force. This entire series is probably one of the funniest Alexis Hall series that I've read. All of his books have a whole lot of humor to them, but this one kind of leans the most into it and is again, a very fun adventure story with not a lot of angst or stakes in it. So we're following this guy who ends up like inheriting this dukedom, and he knew his entire life that he was going to have to get married, but he doesn't really have any desire to. When the time comes that he feels like he has to get married, he goes to a family friend who their parents always said that he was going to marry their daughter. And so he goes and he's like, I'm here to marry you. And she wants nothing to do with him, and so she runs away. So the Duke and her twin brother need to go and rescue her, and the two of them end up having a romance. a very opposites attract Grumpy Sunshine romance. And this entire book is just them following this woman as she is doing all of these really ridiculous things and them trying to like wrangle her back home. And along the way, they fall in love. This is not only an romance, but our hero is on the ace spectrum as well. And it was just so adorable. The series is fun and quirky, and like I said, there's not a lot of drama and angst to it. Even if you aren't a historical romance reader, Alexis Hall's historicals read very contemporary, and so you don't need the inside knowledge on historicals. There's not a lot of like upper society stuff in here. The last one that I have physically is Hang the Moon by Alexandra Bellafleur, and this is actually the sequel to The Written in the Stars. However, these can totally be read as standalones. The only thing that kind of ties them together is that the hero is the brother of one of the heroines, and the heroine is the best friend. This is a romance between a bisexual heroine and a ridiculously romantic hero who just wants love. Like that is his like biggest goal in life, is finding love. His entire job surrounds people falling in love, and he is a romance and rom-com addict. Our heroine, on the other hand, doesn't really believe in true love, and now that she is back in Seattle, the two of them end up having a childhood crush slash friends to lovers. If I'm remembering correctly, the brother always had a crush on the heroine. It's been a minute since I've read this. Our heroine, like I said, is convinced that love isn't real, and so he decides to take her on a whole bunch of like rom-com style dates. So this entire book is about taking her on these excursions to convince her that love is real. And all of those excursions around Seattle just give me those fun summer vibes of going to like festivals and carnivals and all of the things. And so I just feel like this is such a perfect summer read. And again, it's super low angst, super lighthearted. Alexandra Bellafleur's romances are so beautifully romantic yet funny, and this is definitely that. Plus this cover is just absolute summer vibes. So if you haven't read this one, I highly recommend it. I'm filming this in June, and I know this one was left off of a lot of queer book recommendations because it is MF, but it is a queer book. So if you're looking for one final queer book to fit in for Pride Month, that would be a great one. Then next we have Truth or Dare by Danielle Allen. I swear this book is on every single summer recommendations list that I make. One, this cover just screams summer to me, but two, this book takes place at a beach and it's just really fun and short and steamy and such a good time. We are following this group of friends. They're all at the beach for a destination wedding with their best friends, and these two main characters have a friends to lovers romance. It's been quite a few years since they have seen each other, and when they get to the hotel, they have this instant attraction to each other, and as they get to know each other over the long weekend, they realize that there are feelings there. This has a really, really fun friend group. I thought the friend group in this one was very realistic because these people love each other like wholeheartedly, but they 100% butt heads and get on each other's nerves. And I just thought that was such an accurate description of what it is like when this many friends get together on like in a limited amount of space. And I really liked that. This also has a really fun game element to it because in college, all of these friends would play Truth or Dare, and they kind of do that throughout the weekend. And that is kind of what is the catalyst for our two main characters to act on that attraction. Like I said, super short, super steamy. Danielle Allen's romances are always fantastic. So this is definitely one I recommend if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. Definitely want to take to the beach. And then the last book on this list is one that I need to purchase because I need to own this book, but it is one of my most recent reads, and that is How to Say I Do by Tal Bauer. I know that I already had a Tal Bauer book on this list, but just look at the cover. Like I couldn't not put this on this list. This again takes place at a beach. The first, I would say, half or so of this book is set in Cancun. Our two main characters find themselves in Cancun for very different reasons. They end up meeting at an airport. One of our heroes is completely wasted because he just got stood up at the altar and he decided to take his honeymoon by himself so he is still in his tux, and our other hero kind of ends up rescuing him. He sees him going through it at this bar, and the two of them get on the airplane together, and when they get to the hotel, our hero who has stood up the altar ends up taking our other hero, this stranger, into his limo, and everyone at the hotel thinks that the two of them just got married. The other hero was actually there for his brother's wedding, but he ended up going a couple of days early for a vacation, so he is there by himself. And these two guys end up spending that like long weekend together doing all of the honeymoon excursions. And so the two of them are doing all of these romantic things together. They have this really romantic brunch. They take this hike to this secluded waterfall. They do a snorkeling thing together. There is champagne everywhere all the time. And all of the hotel staff thinks that they just got married. And then they slowly realize that there might be feelings there. Then the vacation ends, and it's kind of what comes after that. It is a really, really great romance. This is probably the least emotional Tal Bauer that I've ever read. It is classified as a rom-com according to Tal Bauer. Take that with a grain of salt. There is still a lot to this book. It just isn't quite as sad and heartbreaking as some of his other books. Even like after it leaves the beach part, this is still set in summer, and it does follow a wedding as well as a winery. So literally everything about this book screams summer. So if you want something a little bit deeper and a little bit more emotional, but still lighthearted enough for summer, I can't recommend this one enough. So that is it for my summer reading recommendations. If you have additional recommendations, please leave them down in the comments for me and for other people. I also have previous versions of this video, which I will also link down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.